What if the only thing standing between an innocent man and a lifetime behind bars wasn't some high-powered legal team or a last-minute confession, but just one tiny bar of battery? I'm not talking 10, not even 5, just one. That solitary, glowing red sliver of power lived inside a beat-up Android phone tucked away in the apron pocket of a 24-year-old waitress. Someone who'd never even met the guy whose entire future she was about to hold in her hands. It sounds like something out of a movie, right? But tonight for Lena, it was very much real. Lena pulled a double at the Avalon Steakhouse, a place perched right on the edge of the financial district. It was the usual grind, same black slacks, same non-slip shoes, the same grouchy chef who always seemed to be on the verge of a meltdown, and the same billionaire clientele. These high rollers were a mixed bag, really. They'd either leave you a crisp Benjamin, sometimes even two, or absolutely nothing at all. Tonight, she had Section 4-6 tables, 22 seats, and a mandatory smile plastered on her face no matter how tired she felt. The clock was inching past 9:47 p.m. when she dropped a check at table 12. The guy in the navy suit, looking like he'd stepped right out of a magazine, thanked her,
Here is your check,
signed the receipt with a flourish, and then, almost as an afterthought, handed her an extra $100 bill. For the student loans, he'd said with a wink. Lena, used to the arbitrary generosity of the rich, just nodded,
for the student loans.
a small smile playing on her lips. She pocketed the cash-wiped crumbs from the immaculate white tablecloth and headed for the kitchen, already mentally preparing for the next task. On her way back, she almost collided with another man. He was mid-40s, salt and pepper hair, and eyes that looked perpetually red as if he'd been awake since the previous fiscal year. He wasn't in her section, but he grabbed her wrist. Not rough, just urgent, almost pleading. "Please," he whispered, his voice hoarse, "tell them I was here at 8. Don't let them erase me." Before Lena could even process the strange request, security swarmed. Cuffs clicked with a chilling finality, and they marched him past the shimmering lobster tank and out the service door, a scene that felt more like a spy thriller than a Tuesday night at a steakhouse. Later, the manager, looking harried, gathered the staff. The guy, he explained, was Marshall Ashcroft, the tech billionaire wanted for wire fraud. His extradition hearing was set for dawn. Lena just shrugged. She'd seen weirder things in her short time waiting tables in this city. This was just Tuesday. She clocked out the $100 bill, a small comfort in her pocket, and walked towards the subway, already pushing the bizarre encounter to the back of her mind. Life in the city was a constant parade of the unexpected. You learned to roll with it or you got rolled over. The subway platform was eerily empty, save for one brazen rat scurrying along the tracks, and a stark poster of Ashcroft's face under the bold damning word fraud. Lena, slumped on a bench, scrolled through Instagram, bored. Her thumb, perhaps heavy with fatigue, slipped. Instead of her feed, her camera roll popped open, landing on a thumbnail she didn't even remember taking. It was a shot of the Avalon dining room, time-stamped 8:03 p.m. Curiosity piqued, she hit play. The frame showed Ashcroft unmistakable even from a distance, seated alone at a booth, a pristine napkin already on his lap. A waiter, ever attentive, poured sparkling water into his glass. Then, at 8:05, another man slid into the booth opposite Ashcroft. Thin, fidgety, he kept darting nervous glances toward the entrance as if expecting someone. 2 minutes later, at 8:07, Jittery Guy plonked a small silver flash drive onto the bread plate between them. Ashcroft, his expression unreadable, shook his head, mouthing clearly, "I'm not signing." Jittery Guy whispered something back, his words lost to the ambient restaurant noise, then palmed the drive and left just as quickly as he'd appeared. The whole intense encounter lasted barely 90 seconds. Lena stared at the screen, her heart beginning to pound a slow, heavy rhythm. She realized the camera had caught it all because she'd propped her phone upright against the soda gun earlier while mixing mimosas during the dinner rush. The background audio was crystal clear, the familiar clinks of silverware, the murmur of chatter, And then Ashcroft's voice, distinct and firm, "I won't launder your data." That sentence alone, she knew, could absolutely gut the prosecution's entire timeline. Her gaze instinctively dropped to the top right corner of her phone screen. Battery 6%. A cold knot tightened in her stomach. Just then the train rolled in its doors, dinging open with a mechanical sigh. But Lena stayed frozen on the bench, the implications of what she'd just witnessed crashing over her. This wasn't just a weird Tuesday anymore. This was something monumental. The lights in Lena's tiny apartment were off when two plainclothes detectives buzzed her at precisely 1:12 a.m. Her heart leaped into her throat. She cracked the door, peering through the chain lock. They asked if she'd served Ashcroft that night. "No," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "He wasn't at my table." They thanked her, their faces unreadable, and then left, disappearing back into the pre-dawn quiet of the hallway. She closed the door, leaning against it, her mind racing. She snatched her phone and checked the news. The headline screamed. A federal prosecutor was claiming Ashcroft had never been at the restaurant, alleging he'd paid staff to fabricate an alibi. Another headline scrolled by: Avalon employees change story, billionaire offered bribes. The comment sections were a cesspool of outrage, demanding blood, condemning Ashcroft as a criminal mastermind. Lena's name wasn't public yet, but she knew it was only a matter of time. She opened the video again, the damning footage playing on a loop in her mind. Her battery was now at 5%. Panic began to set in. She quickly took a screenshot of the flash drive moment, hoping to at least preserve that crucial image. Then she tried to airdrop the video file to her old iPad, a relic she kept mostly for reading. Transfer failed, of course. Her iPad battery was dead. With a frustrated sigh, she grabbed her phone charger, a cheap knockoff, and plugged it into the cracked wall brick near her bed. There was a faint spark, a small pop, and then nothing. The port was dead. The universe, it seemed, was actively conspiring against her. She was on her own. The next morning, the story didn't just flip, it somersaulted. A TV anchor, her voice dripping with gravitas, announced, "Anonymous source alleges Waitress possesses exculpatory footage." Exculpatory. The word echoed in Lena's head. Her inbox almost instantly flooded. Reporters, bot accounts, even a cryptic message that simply said, "Delete it or join him in jail." The threat was chillingly clear. Lena unplugged her now useless charger, threw on a hoodie, and headed for the precinct. Doing what felt right was a moral imperative, even if it meant walking into a hornet's nest. But the city had other plans. Traffic was at a complete standstill. A garbage truck strike had gridlocked everything. Her phone battery blinked ominously, 4%. Desperate, she decided to walk the bridge, a 10-block trek, mostly uphill. Every step felt like an uphill battle against time. Halfway up, a prickle of unease crawled up her spine. She felt someone tailing her. A black Escalade, windows tinted so dark she couldn't see inside, was crawling at her pace, matching her every step. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Ducking into a crowded coffee shop, she ordered nothing, just needing to blend in, to disappear for a moment. She opened her phone again, determined to upload the video to the cloud. Wi-Fi. Finally, a glimmer of hope. But then, the maddening prompt, "Email verification required." She typed, her fingers trembling slightly, misspelling her own email address in her haste. Locked out. 5 minutes. 5 precious minutes wasted. Battery 3%. Outside the Escalade idled a dark, silent predator. The cloud was out. Her laptop was back at her apartment, and the USB cable was frayed beyond repair. Every single digital avenue seemed blocked, sealed off by a cruel twist of fate or technology. There was only one path left, hand the physical phone to Detective Smith. He was the one non-corrupt cop she'd seen on the nightly news, a beacon of integrity in a sea of suspicion. The problem Smith was downtown busy processing Ashcroft's arraignment. The courthouse she knew would be sealed off by a throng of press and protesters. Still, it was her only shot. She opened maps, her fingers flying across the screen. An 11-minute Uber ride, it calculated. The battery symbol on her phone, as if in protest, flipped from green to yellow 2%. Just as she was about to confirm the ride, her Uber canceled last second. Driver unavailable. Another setback. Frantic, she sprinted to the subway, her lungs burning, the weight of the phone in her pocket feeling impossibly heavy. She jumped the turnstile without thinking, a flash of blue uniform catching her eye as cops gave chase. But she kept running, fueled by pure adrenaline. The train doors began to hiss shut just as she launched herself inside. Her screen, almost on cue, popped up the dreaded low-power nag, "Turn on airplane mode to preserve battery." She slapped the mode on the screen, momentarily flashing before dimming, then shoved the device deep into her pocket, her heart jackhammering against her ribs. Every second counted. The courthouse steps looked less like a place of law and order and more like a rock concert. Reporters clamored for sound bites, protesters waved signs, and a bizarre contingent of crypto bros held up "Free Ashcroft" placards. The noise was deafening, a cacophony of shouts and camera flashes. Lena pushed through the chaotic crowd, her eyes scanning desperately for Detective Smith. She spotted him, a solid figure escorting a shackled Ashcroft up the grand stone steps, the billionaire looking utterly defeated. Her phone battery, she knew, was hanging by a thread. 1%. She screamed Smith's name, her voice raw, but it was swallowed by the roar of the crowd. Pushing harder, she shoved her way forward, stumbling, tripping over an unseen obstacle. The phone skittered across the concrete, a sickening sound. Her breath hitched. She scrambled, crawling on her hands and knees, ignoring the stairs, ignoring the pain. Her pickup angle showed a spider-web crack blooming across the screen, but mercifully it was still alive. She grabbed it, clutching it like a lifeline, and stood ready to make her final dash. Then a hand clamped down on her shoulder. A voice, slick and familiar, whispered in her ear. It was Jittery Guy from the video, now wearing a federal badge and a smug, unsettling grin. "Give me the phone," he hissed, "and the DA drops your obstruction charge. Walk away clean." Lena didn't hesitate. She elbowed him hard, breaking free, and bolted up the steps, her gaze locked on Smith. The detective, sensing the commotion, doubled back, his eyes narrowing as he took in the scene. Lena fumbled with the phone, her thumbs swiping wildly across the cracked screen. It blipped red, a final, desperate gasp. Just as she slammed the device into Smith's outstretched palm, the screen cut to black. The battery was flat. The entire plaza, for a suspended moment, watched in stunned silence. Smith looked down at the dead phone, then back at Lena, a wry, almost disbelieving shrug. "Better be good," he murmured. Fast forward 6 hours. The courthouse hallway hummed with the fluorescent lights and the quiet, almost reverent buzz of anticipation. News broke live, echoing through the building. New video evidence forces prosecution to drop all charges against Ashcroft. Reporters sprinted, their voices rising in a frantic chorus. Ashcroft, his face streaked with tears, exited the holding pen. His eyes, still red from exhaustion, scanned the hallway until they landed on Lena, sitting quietly on a wooden bench, clutching a vending machine coffee like it was the most precious thing in the world. He mouthed, "Thank you." She nodded, utterly exhausted, but a profound sense of relief washing over her. Details began to leak, piece by astonishing piece. The flash drive, it turned out, had carried doctored ledgers designed specifically to frame Ashcroft. Jittery Guy, real name Agent Keats, was taking bribes from a rival firm tasked with planting false data once the billionaire refused to sell his groundbreaking algorithm. The 8:07 restaurant video, with its precise timestamp, didn't just contradict Keats's manufactured timeline. It obliterated it. Without that raw, unedited footage, Ashcroft was looking at 30 years in a federal prison. With it, Keats and two high-ranking executives from the rival firm were the ones getting cuffed instead. Lena's phone, though dead in her hand, had held just enough residual charge for the lab techs to pull the critical file before its capacitors fully drained. Sometimes it turns out 1% is more than enough. So a waitress on minimum wage, a cracked android, and the final fading red pixel of a battery walked into a courthouse, and justice against all odds walked out. It's a wild thought, isn't it? If your screen hits 2% tonight, don't just dismiss it. Remember, it might still hold the shot, the message, the proof that saves somebody's life, or at least their reputation. What would you do if the key to someone's freedom was literally in your hand and the countdown had already started? Tell me below, hit subscribe if you like real stories that almost weren't told, and please share this with that one friend who never charges their phone, because one day it just might matter more than they ever thought possible.